Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about a kind of strength that doesn't show up in the mirror, that can't be measured by the size of your biceps or the weight on a barbell. I'm talking about mental strength, the resilience, the discipline, the emotional power that separates those who merely exist from those who truly live. Mental strength isn't something you're born with, it's something you build. And like any muscle, if you don't train it, it withers. If you don't challenge it, it shrinks. But when you choose to face adversity, when you choose to do the hard things, when you choose not to settle, you forge a mindset that can take you through any storm. The first step to becoming mentally strong is mastering your state. Life is going to throw chaos at you, unexpected setbacks, rejection, failure. The question is, how do you show up in those moments? Do you collapse? Or do you step forward with energy and focus? Strength is not about pretending pain doesn't exist. It's about deciding that pain will not control you. You breathe, you center yourself, and you take command of your emotions instead of letting them take command of you. The second step is training your focus. Where focus goes, energy flows. If you obsess over problems, you multiply them in your mind until they feel bigger than they are. But when you train yourself to focus on solutions, on growth, on what you can do right now, you reclaim your power. Mental strength is choosing what you pay attention to and refusing to hand your energy to things that drain you. Third, discipline. Let's get real. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you want to become. Every time you do what's necessary instead of what's convenient, you add another layer of steel to your mind. Discipline is saying no to distractions, no to excuses, no to the comfort zone. Mental strength is born in the small, daily choices where you refuse to compromise your standards. Fourth, embrace discomfort. Most people run from discomfort. They run from hard conversations, from tough workouts, from ambitious goals, from taking risks. But discomfort is where growth lives. If you want to be mentally strong, you must condition yourself to do the very thing you fear. Step into the cold, face the challenge, chase the struggle. Because when you make discomfort your training ground, you stop being afraid of it. Finally, resilience. Strength is not about never falling. It's about rising again and again, no matter how many times life knocks you down. It's about turning setbacks into comebacks. Every failure is fuel. Every obstacle is training. Every scar is a reminder that you survived and you're stronger for it. Resilience is the ultimate power, because when you know you can rise, nothing can keep you down. So let me ask you right now, are you going to keep waiting for life to get easier, or are you going to get stronger? Mental strength is a decision, a daily practice, a commitment to yourself. Build it, live it, embody it, and you'll become unstoppable. Mastering your emotional state is the foundation of becoming mentally strong, because emotions are the fuel that drive your actions, your decisions, and ultimately your life. If you allow your emotions to be dictated by circumstances, you'll live like a puppet pulled by the strings of the outside world. One negative comment, one setback, one unexpected challenge can throw you completely off course. But when you learn to master your state, you take back control. You're no longer at the mercy of what happens. Instead, you decide how you're going to show up regardless of the situation. This is the essence of power, the ability to create the state you need in the moment you need it. Think about it. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt tired, stressed, maybe even defeated, but suddenly something happened? Music came on, someone you love walked in, or you remembered a past victory, and instantly your energy shifted. Nothing external really changed in your life, yet your emotional state flipped in seconds. That's because emotion is not something you're stuck with, it's something you can influence. But too many people go through life reacting to everything around them, like a pinball bouncing from one trigger to another. If someone cuts them off in traffic, they're angry the rest of the day. If someone praises them, they feel good for a few minutes until the next problem arises. That's not mastery, that's slavery to emotion. Mastering your emotional state begins with awareness. You can't change what you don't recognize. Every emotion has a pattern, physiology, focus language. When you're in a state of anger, notice your body. Your shoulders tense, your breathing gets shallow, your jaw tightens. Notice your focus, you zero in on what went wrong, what you lost, who wronged you. Notice your language. This always happens to me. I can't believe this. Why me? Contrast that with a state of confidence. The body opens up, you stand taller, you breathe deeper. Your focus shifts to possibilities, to solutions, to what you can do. Your language becomes empowering. I've got this. I can handle this. Let's make this happen. Once you realize that every emotion follows a pattern, you can interrupt the destructive ones and create empowering ones on demand. One of the fastest ways to change your state is through physiology. Motion creates emotion. You can't sit slouched over, breathing shallow, frowning, and expect to feel powerful. Stand up, move, breathe deep, change your posture. shake out your body, and suddenly you've signaled to your nervous system that something different is happening. Athletes know this well. They have rituals before they perform. Physical movements that trigger a state of certainty and readiness. You don't have to be an athlete to do the same. Design your own physical triggers that instantly snap you into the emotional state you want. A fist pump, a deep breath, a song that fires you up, even a mantra spoken with intensity. The body is the fastest gateway to emotional transformation. The second lever is focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel, regardless of whether it's true or not. If you focus on what's missing in your life, you'll feel empty. If you focus on what you have and what you can create, you'll feel abundant. Mental strength comes from training yourself to direct focus where it serves you instead of where it sabotages you. This doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means choosing to give your energy to the aspects of reality that empower you. When a challenge shows up, the average person focuses on the size of the problem. The mentally strong person focuses on the size of their resourcefulness, on the lessons to be learned, on the action that can be taken. Focus is a decision, and it's one of the most powerful decisions you can make daily. The third lever is language. Words don't just describe our experience, they create it. Say, I'm destroyed, and you'll feel one way. Say, I'm a little challenged, and you'll feel another. The difference is massive, and it's all in the language you use. Mastering your emotional state requires mastering your vocabulary. Upgrade the words you use to describe your experience, and you instantly upgrade the emotions attached to it. Instead of calling something a disaster, call it a learning curve. Instead of saying, I'm depressed, try, I'm ready for a breakthrough. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about taking ownership of the frame you choose to live in. Now let's take it deeper. Emotional mastery isn't just about feeling good in the moment. It's about building resilience so you can keep your power no matter what. Life is unpredictable. People will disappoint you. Plans will fall apart. Pain will show up uninvited. But if you have trained yourself to recognize when your state is dipping and to pull yourself back into strength, you'll never be derailed for long. Imagine going through life knowing that no matter what happens, you can always shift into confidence, courage, gratitude, determination. How much more would you attempt? How much more would you create? How much less would you fear? That is the gift of mastering your emotional state. It gives you freedom. It starts with rituals. Don't wait until you're in crisis to practice state control. Build it into your daily life. Begin your mornings with rituals that prime you for power, physical movement, deep breathing, visualization, affirmations. Throughout the day, when you catch yourself slipping into negative emotions, don't let them linger. Interrupt the pattern. Change your physiology, change your focus, change your language. Do it enough and it becomes automatic, just like muscles grow with repetition. So does emotional mastery. Another key is meaning. Emotion is the product of the meaning you attach to things. Two people can experience the same event and feel completely different emotions because they assign different meanings. One person loses their job and says, "This is the end of me." Another loses their job and says, "This is the beginning of a better chapter." Same event, different state, different future. If you want to master your emotional state, you must master the art of assigning empowering meanings to whatever life throws at you. Ask yourself better questions. What's great about this? What can I learn? How can this serve me? Questions redirect focus, create meaning, and shift emotions. It's important to recognize that mastery doesn't mean perfection. You will still feel fear, anger, sadness, doubt. But mastery means those emotions don't control you. They don't stick. They don't become your identity. You experience them, you acknowledge them, and then you decide to shift. You are not your emotions. You are the one who generates them. When you finally grasp that you become untouchable by circumstances, you realize the world doesn't make you feel a certain way. You make you feel a certain way. That's ultimate strength because it means nothing outside of you has the power to dictate the quality of your life without your permission. Think of emotional mastery like driving a car. If you don't have control of the wheel, you'll end up wherever the road takes you, maybe even crash. But when your hands are firmly on the wheel, you decide the direction, the speed, the destination. Your emotions are the vehicle, but you are the driver. When you claim that role fully, you no longer hope to feel good. You generate it. You no longer wish for confidence. You step into it. You no longer wait for motivation. You create it. This is the power that belongs to anyone willing to practice, to condition, to refuse to live as a victim of circumstance. Training your focus on solutions instead of problems is one of the most powerful skills you can develop if you want to become mentally strong, because focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you direct it toward becomes bigger, more real, more intense. Most people spend the majority of their time focusing on problems, replaying them in their minds, talking about them to anyone who will listen, building them up until they feel insurmountable. When you focus obsessively on a problem, your brain locks onto it like a heat-seeking missile, and suddenly it seems as though every path forward is blocked. The reality is the problem isn't as big as it feels, it's the focus that has magnified it. But if you shift your focus toward solutions, toward possibilities, toward actions you can take, suddenly your energy changes, your creativity wakes up, and your confidence returns. The problem might still exist, but it no longer owns you because your attention is no longer feeding it. Think about your own life. How many hours have you wasted worrying about things you couldn't control? How many times did you keep replaying a mistake, a conversation, or a setback, giving it more energy than it ever deserved? That's the cost of problem-focused thinking. It drains you, it weakens you, it keeps you stuck. The strongest people you know are not people without problems. They are people who refuse to give problems more attention than necessary. They acknowledge them, they assess them, and then they direct their focus toward what can be done. That's the difference between living in frustration and living in power. Focusing on solutions starts with asking better questions. The human brain is a question-answering machine. Whatever question you ask, your brain will work to answer. If you ask, why does this always happen to me? Your brain will generate a list of reasons that confirm your sense of victimhood. If you ask, what's the fastest way I can move forward right now? Your brain will scan for strategies, opportunities, and actions. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the quality of questions you consistently ask yourself. A weak question produces weak focus, produces weak results. A strong question produces empowering focus, which produces empowering results. Train yourself to ask questions that push you toward growth, resilience, and solutions. Another element of focus is choosing what meaning to give an event. When a challenge arises, you can focus on the pain or the lesson. If you zero in on the pain, you reinforce suffering. If you focus on the lesson, you extract value from the experience. Two people can go through the exact same challenge, let's say a business failure. One focuses on the humiliation, the loss, the wasted time, and collapses into despair. The other focuses on what they learned, the skills they developed, the mistakes they won't repeat, and uses it as a stepping stone to build something even stronger. The external event is the same, but their focus creates two completely different realities. Training your focus means deciding in advance that you will always extract the empowering meaning no matter what. It's also important to recognize that focus is finite. You only have so much mental bandwidth each day. If you waste it focusing on problems you can't change, you're robbing yourself of the energy to create the future you want. This is why mentally strong people are ruthless about protecting their focus. They don't give their attention to gossip, negativity, or endless complaining. They know every ounce of focus spent there is an ounce stolen from progress. You have to become a guardian of your attention. Ask yourself, is what I'm focusing on right now bringing me closer to the life I want or pulling me further away? If it's not serving you, redirect immediately. Focus is like a muscle. It gets stronger the more you train it. In the beginning, you may notice how quickly your mind drifts back to problems, worries, and what ifs. Don't judge yourself for it, just redirect. Over and over again, bring your focus back to solutions, to gratitude, to possibility. Over time, your brain rewires itself to naturally default toward empowering focus. Just like lifting weights, the repetition builds strength. The key is consistency. Every time you choose to focus on the solution instead of the problem, you are reinforcing the identity of a mentally strong person who refuses to be held hostage by circumstances. One practical way to train focus is through visualization. Instead of endlessly replaying the problem in your mind, visualize yourself solving it, visualize yourself succeeding, visualize yourself handling it with confidence. The mind doesn't fully distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's real. So when you repeatedly visualize solutions, you build neural pathways that make it easier to act on them in reality. Another practice is gratitude. It might seem simple, but focusing daily on what you're grateful for shifts your attention away from lack and toward abundance. When you start your day by identifying 3 things you're grateful for, you train your focus to notice what's working instead of what's broken. Gratitude is a lens that automatically tilts your attention towards solutions. Training focus also requires eliminating distractions. In today's world, distraction is the enemy of strength. Every notification, every headline, every unnecessary argument pulls your focus toward things that don't matter. Mental toughness means cutting off what drains you so you can double down on what fuels you. That might mean silencing your phone during work. It might mean limiting time with negative people. It might mean refusing to engage in debates that lead nowhere. Every no to distraction is a yes to focus. Every boundary you set protects your ability to aim your attention where it counts. It's worth noting that focusing on solutions doesn't mean ignoring problems. It doesn't mean pretending everything is fine when it's not. It means acknowledging reality but refusing to dwell in it longer than necessary. It means identifying the problem, extracting the lesson, and then pivoting immediately toward action. Some people confuse problem solving with problem worship. They think that by talking endlessly about the problem, they're making progress. In reality, they're digging themselves deeper into paralysis. Solution focus means you don't stay stuck in analysis, you move into action. Even a small action taken with focus builds momentum and pulls you out of despair. A critical part of this training is self-awareness. Catch yourself when you spiral into problem focus. Notice the language you use, the way you speak to yourself and others. Are you constantly saying, "This is so hard, this is impossible, this will never work"? That language is the voice of problem focus. Shift it to, what's one step I can take right now? Who can I learn from? How can I turn this around? That language is solution focus, and it will shift not only your mindset, but also the mindset of those around you. Because focus is contagious. If you constantly direct your attention towards solutions, others will feel it, they'll be influenced by it, and they'll rise with you. Ultimately, training your focus is about reclaiming your power. Problems will always exist. Life will always deliver new challenges. The question is, where will you direct your limited attention? Will you give it to what weakens you or to what strengthens you? Every moment you are making that choice, whether consciously or unconsciously, when you decide that your focus belongs to solutions, growth, and progress, you build a mind that is unshakable, a spirit that is unbreakable, and a life that is unstoppable. Discipline is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be, and it's built not in one dramatic moment, but in the small, seemingly insignificant choices you make every single day. Most people wait for motivation to strike, hoping they'll feel inspired enough to do the hard work, but the truth is motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the wind, but discipline is the anchor that keeps you moving forward no matter how you feel. Discipline is doing what you said you would do long after the mood you set it in has disappeared. It's the ability to act according to your values and goals instead of your impulses and excuses, and it's one of the clearest signs of mental strength. Building discipline starts with clarity. You must know what you want and why you want it. Without clarity, discipline feels like punishment, like a constant grind with no reward in sight. But when you have a compelling vision of your future, when you've decided exactly who you want to become and what life you're committed to creating, discipline becomes a form of freedom. Every time you choose discipline, you're casting a vote for your future self. You're reinforcing the identity of the person you want to be, and each small action compounds into unstoppable momentum. The challenge is that the human brain is wired for comfort. It seeks the path of least resistance, the instant gratification, the quick relief. That's why so many people struggle with discipline. They confuse what's easy with what's good. Discipline is the ability to delay gratification, to endure short-term discomfort for long-term gain. It's waking up early when your bed is warm. It's going to the gym when you don't feel like it. It's saying no to distractions when everyone else is scrolling their lives away. The discomfort is temporary, but the strength you build lasts forever. One of the most powerful ways to build discipline is through habits. Discipline doesn't mean you have to fight massive battles with willpower every day. It's about designing your environment and routines so that the disciplined choice becomes the natural choice. If you want to eat healthier, stock your kitchen with clean foods and remove the junk. If you want to read more, keep a book by your bed instead of your phone. If you want to work out consistently, schedule it at the same time each day until it becomes automatic. Habits turn discipline from a struggle into a lifestyle, and once something becomes part of who you are, it requires far less effort to maintain. Discipline is also about standards. Most people set goals, but they don't set standards. A goal is something you want, but a standard is something you refuse to compromise on. A goal says, I want to get in shape. A standard says, I work out 5 days a week no matter what. A goal says, I want to be financially free. A standard says, I save and invest a percentage of my income before I spend on anything else. When you raise your standard high enough, discipline stops feeling like a choice and starts feeling like the only option. The gap between your current life and the life you want is filled by the standards you enforce every day. There will always be moments when discipline feels heavy, when excuses whisper louder than your commitments. This is when mental toughness is forged. The difference between the strong and the weak is not that the strong never feel like quitting. It's that they don't listen to that feeling. They've trained themselves to act according to principle, not preference. Every time you override your excuses and choose discipline, you build a deeper sense of self-trust. You prove to yourself that you can count on you, and that self-trust becomes the foundation for confidence in every area of your life. Another critical piece of discipline is accountability. Humans are social creatures, and we are far more likely to follow through on commitments when someone else knows about them. This doesn't mean you need constant external pressure, but having a coach, a mentor, a training partner, or even a supportive friend can multiply your discipline. When you declare your standards out loud, when you attach your commitments to your identity in front of others, you increase the stakes. You're no longer just breaking a promise to yourself, you're breaking it in front of the world, and that pressure can fuel you to stay consistent until discipline becomes ingrained. Discipline also grows from embracing discomfort instead of avoiding it. Too often, people treat discomfort as a signal to stop, but the disciplined person understands that discomfort is a signal of growth. When you train your mind and body to lean into discomfort instead of running from it, you condition yourself to handle greater and greater challenges. Cold showers, hard workouts, long hours of deep work without distraction. These are training grounds for discipline. They toughen your mind and remind you that you are capable of far more than your feelings suggest. The more you practice discipline in small ways, the more you prepare yourself for the big challenges of life. Another misconception is that discipline means a joyless, rigid existence. True discipline actually creates more freedom, not less. When you're disciplined with your time, you gain more time to do the things you love. When you're disciplined with your finances, you gain freedom from debt and stress. When you're disciplined with your health, you gain freedom from illness and fatigue. Lack of discipline creates chaos and bondage. Discipline creates order and liberation. When you look at it this way, discipline is not restriction, it's empowerment. It's also essential to remember that discipline is a process, not perfection. You will slip at times, you will make mistakes, you will have days where you fall short. But discipline isn't about never failing. It's about how quickly you get back up. Each failure is an opportunity to learn, to refine your systems, to recommit to your standards. The person who is truly disciplined doesn't give up when they stumble. They acknowledge it, they adjust, and they keep going. Over time, this resilience builds an unshakable character. Discipline requires you to decide what matters most and then align your actions with that decision daily. It's about clarity, consistency, and courage. Clarity because you need to know exactly what you're working toward. Consistency because greatness is never built in a single burst of effort, but in repeated actions over time. Courage because discipline often requires you to stand apart, to say no when others say yes, to sacrifice comfort for growth. But every choice you make in alignment with discipline shapes you into the kind of person who doesn't just wish for success, but earns it. The truth is, discipline is self-love in its highest form. It's the willingness to do what serves your future self, even when your present self resists. It's refusing to settle for temporary comfort when lasting fulfillment is available. Every disciplined act is a declaration. I am in charge of my destiny. I am not a prisoner of impulse. I am the architect of my life. And when discipline becomes who you are, there is nothing you cannot create, nothing you cannot overcome, nothing you cannot achieve. Most people live their lives running from discomfort, chasing ease, chasing convenience, chasing the path where resistance is lowest. But the truth is that every ounce of growth, every moment of transformation, every breakthrough you've ever had in your life has come on the other side of discomfort. Comfort zones feel safe, they feel familiar, but they are traps that silently suffocate your potential. Discomfort is where the magic happens, where new skills are forged, where resilience is built, where strength becomes real. The mentally strong don't avoid discomfort. They seek it out. They embrace it. They use it as training ground for the life they want. Think about your body as an example. If you never stress a muscle, it never grows. If you never push your lungs with intensity, they never expand. If you never stretch yourself beyond what feels easy, your body remains the same. Growth in the physical body requires discomfort, and the same is true in the mind and spirit. Every time you do something that scares you, every time you lean into the awkwardness of uncertainty, every time you endure the sting of rejection or failure, you are building new capacity. You are stretching the boundaries of who you are, and in that stretch, you discover more strength than you thought possible. Discomfort is a teacher, but most people misinterpret its lessons. When they feel it, they assume it means something is wrong, that they should turn back, that they should choose another path. But discomfort is rarely a warning to stop. More often, it is a signal that you're exactly where you should be. It's the body and mind acknowledging that you've stepped into new territory, into unfamiliar ground, into a space where growth is possible. If you reframe discomfort as progress, suddenly it's no longer something to fear, but something to welcome. One of the reasons discomfort is so powerful is because it reveals truth. When life is easy, anyone can feel confident, anyone can stay positive, anyone can seem disciplined. But it's in the moments of discomfort, when you're exhausted, when things don't go as planned, when people doubt you, that your true character shows. Do you shrink back to comfort, or do you step forward in a challenge? Mentally strong people see discomfort as the test that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. They understand that how they respond when things are hard defines the trajectory of their entire life. Embracing discomfort requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, how can I make this easier? Start asking, how can I get stronger through this? Instead of wishing away the pain of challenge, lean into it and recognize it as the price of growth. Every time you choose discomfort over ease, you build evidence that you can handle more, and with each layer of evidence, your confidence multiplies. Soon discomfort becomes less threatening and more like a familiar friend that walks with you on your journey. You can train yourself to embrace discomfort in practical ways. Seek out small challenges daily. Take the cold shower. Push for one more rep in the gym when your muscles scream at you to stop. Sit with the silence instead of distracting yourself with your phone. Speak up in the meeting even when your heart is racing. These small acts condition your nervous system to stay calm and steady in the presence of discomfort. Over time, you develop a kind of mental callus, a resilience that protects you from being overwhelmed when life inevitably delivers bigger challenges. Discomfort also has the power to strip away illusions. It shows you where you're weak, where your excuses lie, where your limits truly are. Most people never discover what they're capable of because they stop at the first sign of struggle. But if you stay in the discomfort long enough, you begin to realize that the limits you thought were real were only walls built by your mind. You discover that you can run further, endure longer, risk more, love deeper, and create bigger than you ever believed. Discomfort exposes weakness, but it also reveals hidden strength. Another dimension of embracing discomfort is emotional discomfort. Having the hard conversation, telling the truth when it's easier to leave, setting the boundary when it feels terrifying, admitting you were wrong, asking for help. These are uncomfortable acts, but they are the foundation of authentic living. If you avoid emotional discomfort, you avoid intimacy, growth, and connection. If you embrace it, you build relationships rooted in honesty and courage. You stop living in the shadows of what you really feel and step into the light of who you really are. There's also the discomfort of failure. Too many people avoid going after their biggest dreams because they fear failing, but failure is not the enemy. Failure is feedback. Failure is refinement. Failure is the fire that forges mastery. The people you admire most didn't avoid failure. They walked straight into it again and again until they became unstoppable. When you embrace the discomfort of failing, you free yourself from the prison of perfectionism. You give yourself permission to try, to learn, to adapt, to grow, and eventually to succeed at a level that would have been impossible without the lessons failure taught you. Discomfort also unlocks freedom from fear. Fear thrives in avoidance. The more you run from what scares you, the larger it looms over your life. But when you face it head on, when you willingly step into the discomfort of fear, you rob it of its power. Public speaking, starting a business, pursuing a passion, having that difficult talk, whatever it is that scares you, the moment you embrace the discomfort of doing it anyway, the fear shrinks. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act despite it. And that decision is only possible when you're willing to get uncomfortable. Mentally strong people don't just tolerate discomfort. They engineer it. They intentionally put themselves in situations that stretch them because they understand that easy lives produce soft minds, and soft minds can't withstand the storms of life. They train their bodies, their minds, their spirits to stay steady in the face of adversity so that when real challenges come, they're not unprepared. They know that the more you practice embracing discomfort, the less intimidating it becomes. In the end, discomfort is not something to run from, it's something to run toward. It's the arena where greatness is built, the crucible where strength is forged, the classroom where lessons are learned that comfort could never teach. If you want to live a life that matters, if you want to become mentally strong, if you want to experience the fullness of your potential, you must be willing to lean into the very things that make you uncomfortable, because that's where your next level lives. Setbacks are inevitable in life. No matter how disciplined you are, no matter how much you plan, no matter how hard you work, life has a way of testing you with challenges you didn't see coming. These moments can feel like roadblocks, like the universe is pushing against you. But the truth is, setbacks are not the end of the road. They are the raw material from which resilience is built. Resilience is the ability to bounce back stronger, to rise after you've been knocked down, to use the very weight of your challenges as the resistance that strengthens you. Without setbacks, resilience cannot exist, and without resilience, true mental strength is impossible. The first step to turning setbacks into resilience is shifting your perception of them. Most people see setbacks as permanent, personal, and pervasive. They think the failure means they'll never succeed. They believe it reflects their worth, and they assume it affects every part of their lives. This perspective crushes their spirit and leaves them stuck. Resilient people, however, see setbacks as temporary, specific, and external. They recognize that this is just one challenge, not the end of the story. They understand that the setback is not who they are, but simply something that happened. They know it doesn't define their entire life. It only impacts one area. By changing the way you interpret a setback, you change its power over you. Every setback contains a seed of growth, but you only find it if you're willing to look. Resilient people ask themselves empowering questions when things go wrong. Instead of why me, they ask, what can I learn from this? Instead of why is this happening, they ask, how is this shaping me? Instead of what did I lose, they ask, what can I gain from this experience? By asking better questions, they extract lessons that transform pain into progress. Every failure becomes feedback. Every rejection becomes redirection. Every disappointment becomes training for something bigger. Setbacks also test your emotional strength. When something doesn't go your way, it's easy to spiral into anger, frustration, or despair. Resilience requires emotional regulation, the ability to feel the pain but not be consumed by it, to acknowledge the emotion without letting it dictate your actions. This doesn't mean pretending you're fine when you're not. It means allowing yourself to feel fully but refusing to stay stuck in the emotion. Cry if you need to, scream if you need to, but then shift your state and move forward. This balance of authenticity and determination is what makes resilience so powerful. Another important aspect of resilience is adaptability. Life is constantly changing, and setbacks often show up when old strategies no longer work. Resilient people don't cling to what used to work. They pivot, they innovate, they adjust their approach. They understand that flexibility is not weakness, it's survival. A tree that refuses to bend in the storm gets uprooted, but one that sways with the wind survives and thrives. In the same way, resilience is about being flexible enough to adapt while staying rooted in your purpose and vision. Setbacks also build resilience by humbling you. They strip away ego, forcing you to confront your limitations and weaknesses. While this can be uncomfortable, it's also a gift because it shows you exactly where you need to grow. If everything came easy, you'd never develop grit, you'd never refine your skills, you'd never discover your true capacity. Setbacks reveal the gaps so you can close them. They expose the cracks so you can strengthen them. They humble you so you can grow with wisdom rather than arrogance. Resilience is built through repetition. The more setbacks you face and overcome, the stronger you become. Each time you rise, you add another layer of belief in your ability to endure. Over time, you develop an unshakable confidence that no matter what happens, you'll figure it out. This doesn't mean you enjoy setbacks, but it does mean you no longer fear them. You know they're part of the process, and that knowledge alone gives you an edge. Fear loses its grip when you've proven to yourself again and again that you can rise. Another key to resilience is the story you tell yourself about the setback. If you frame it as a catastrophe, it becomes one. If you frame it as a challenge, it sharpens you. If you frame it as training, it transforms you. The meaning you attach to a setback determines whether it breaks you or builds you. The strongest people don't see themselves as victims of circumstance. They see themselves as warriors in training. Every hardship is a test. Every obstacle is a chance to prove their strength. Every setback is part of the preparation for something greater. That story fuels resilience and keeps them moving even in the darkest times. Community also plays a role in resilience. While mental strength is cultivated individually, no one thrives in isolation. Setbacks can feel crushing when faced alone, but with the support of others, you gain perspective, encouragement, and strength you didn't know you had. Resilient people lean on mentors, friends, and loved ones not for pity, but for perspective. They seek wisdom from those who've walked the path before. They draw strength from those who believe in them when they doubt themselves, and they use the connection to fuel their comeback. Resilience doesn't mean going it alone. It means knowing when to draw from the collective power of others. Setbacks are also opportunities to build patience. In a world obsessed with instant results, setbacks remind you that growth is a process, that mastery takes time, that greatness is forged in seasons, not seconds. Resilient people understand that the delay is not denial, that sometimes the very obstacle they face is preparing them for the moment they've been working toward. They don't quit when progress is slow. They trust that persistence will eventually pay off. This patience combined with determination creates a resilience that cannot be broken by temporary failure. Ultimately, setbacks are the proving ground of resilience. They are the moments where you decide whether you will shrink or expand, whether you will collapse or rise, whether you will let circumstances define you or you will define yourself in the face of circumstances. Every setback carries within it the possibility of transformation, but only if you choose to respond with strength, with adaptability, with perspective, and with determination. Resilience is not about avoiding the fall, it's about mastering the rise. The more you practice it, the stronger you become, until setbacks no longer feel like dead ends, but like detours guiding you toward the best version of yourself.